Initially, when I was reading the chapter, it felt like it was moving 2 times as fast. It felt like it was so much information that I was consuming at one time. I had to slow down several times. However, it was one of those chapters that, not the greatest chapter, not the worst. It was good. There are a lot of things in there that I think are important that weren't highlighted by the chapter necessarily, but it has so many important or like crazy ramifications for the future. But let's talk about it here, man. I missed One Piece. One Piece was on break recently, and I know it seems like I've been on break as well. I know you guys are like, yo, where are the videos? Where's the content? Take a little break, and it gives you time to kind of reread things. This chapter, it's unique and it's clever because I think it's a way for Oda to update us without exactly pinpointing and going through, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's happening. It's almost like in different scenes, he showed a bunch of different things to show us what was going on without specifically saying what was going on. So for instance, when they showed Marco saying the castle's on fire, they showed Big Mom saying, hey, don't forget Big Mom, she's still over here and she's back up. Even though her eyes, they seem glazed over, we know she's fine. And I think honestly, I rather this over their regular update chapters where it's just like, hey, this is here. Hey, this is here, where it's like, it feels like more thought is going in, not more thought, I just like it more. And I think it's easier to digest and it doesn't really take me out of the story, right? I'm reading, I'm like, oh, there's Big Mom. I really like that, Marco and Izo, what's interesting about them is that Izo saved Marco earlier in the arc. Remember, Marco was just daydreaming and Izo's like, Marco, what's wrong with you? So Marco to say that now, it's like, yo, bro. And my thing is like, Marco, you're a phoenix. Just heal, bro. Just heal, bro. What are you doing? But I get it. No, I'm sure he has some time he has to wait before he can actually recover. So it's whatever. Again, a lot was going on, so let's try to condense it a little bit, okay? We have Yamato, she's still around where Apu is, and Apu is still trying to convince Yamato of whatever. And X-Drake is still trying to tell Apu, you're full of it. Like, nobody wants to work with you, bro. And this is the second basement with Fuga, and they keep talking about the yokai, or the thing that's making its way downward. And that's the thing created by Kanjuro, which Orochi wants. He wants that because he wants to destroy everything. So I'm not a huge fan of countdowns in One Piece, meaning sequential events happening, and they're happening in the way that they are because Oda has put things in place for them to happen. If that's a bit confusing, what I mean is it's a countdown, right? And things have to happen at a rapid pace, and sometimes it makes things a bit predictable, right? Because it's like, all right, this has to happen. If it doesn't happen by this time, everything is over. Everything is never going to be over, right? Everything, well, that just made me sad because at some point One Piece will be over, right? But One Piece will never truly be over. Like, look at Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is still going, right? We know we got Super and all these different things. I know some people are like, oh my God, they should have just ended at Dragon Ball Z. I enjoyed Super. As bad as some people says it is, you know what you go for. You don't go to McDonald's expecting like Ruth Chris. What other restaurants are people like? Cheesecake Factory, Olive Garden, Red Lobster. I don't know. But you go to McDonald's expecting McDonald's. So I watched Dragon Ball expecting Dragon Ball. However, I digress. What I'm saying is, it's a lot going on. There was a lot going on. So in this same thing, in this same scene, Oda keeps highlighting Fuga, the number that has some affinity, some connection to Yamato. We've had our theories and speculations. As we've said before, I've said before, more than likely, this is the guy that people think is Zoro's dad, or he was experimented on in some way. So he has some connection to Yamato, and he's helping Yamato because he likes her, right? And he saved her life back in the day. In the midst of this, though, here comes CP0. And I have a lot of high expectations for CP0 because I'm a huge fan of CP9. And CP9, again, as I've stated, they had a huge hand in one of the best arcs in One Piece. And I think Oda's provided an appropriate level of hype for them without even hyping them. And so the characters they're going after right now, it was Brook and Robin. For me, I was like, Robin is in trouble because Brook can't do anything with these characters. Smiley stepped in, kind of separated Brook and Robin for a while. So now they can breathe for a bit and we can breathe because now we're like, okay, Robin's not going to get captured right now. So she got to get away, right? Get away, get to somebody, get with someone a bit stronger because I don't think Brook can take CP0, any of the members right now. And again, as I've mentioned, this isn't a Brook diss. This is just a CP0 acknowledgement of the threat. What's not to get lost here, though, is that Yamato, she still wants to get down there and disarm all the bombs or just make it so that these explosions can't happen while Onigashima is midair. Initially, it felt like she was going to lessen the impact Onigashima. So if the impact isn't as soft as they expect, those things won't detonate. However, it seems like it's shifted, and that was probably the intent all along before we knew it, where the goal is for her to disarm these things so they don't blow up once the Gezenbo gets to them. So initially her first purpose, so when she was going down there, I was always like, well, Yamato, what are you doing? Now it makes a lot more sense because she has to get there and take care of these things, because if the fire gets to them, it's gonna blow up even before Onigashima lands. Okay, so that's pretty good writing. I like how those things intertwine and it makes you question yourself. Okay, so what was Yamato actually going there for? I mean, when you pinpoint it, it's like, yeah, it was always going to be for Smiley or Slimy or Fiery. It was always gonna be for that, but that wasn't the initial purpose. It makes things feel a bit more real, a bit more unexpected, things just happening. I like that. I really like that. So Oda did a thing, right, where he establishes CP0's dominance when he had him take out Apu. And I'm like, oh my God, like Apu hasn't been put down by anyone, right? Every time he goes down, he comes right back up. And that should have told me something. I don't know why I didn't figure or think, well, Apu probably isn't down, because Oda really drew it like he was down. CP0, they're aware of X Drake. Now, we're not 100% sure if they know for a fact he's in Sword, but they do know enough to say, we know your true allegiance. You can jump to the conclusion about Sword and say, well, they know about Sword, but at least they know he's a Marine and they're, cleaning up a few things. I'm gonna make an entire video about this because I think this is really important. One of the things that the story didn't really stay on it, right? But it's huge. So first off, CP0, possibly knowing about Sword, could maybe cause a lot of contention within the Marines, within the world government. Civil war? Even if they don't know he's a part of Sword, even if he's a Marine that's playing soldier or playing pirate, who does he report to? Who is his superior? You want to know the chain of command. Again, we'll talk about all this, but this is a really big deal. CP0, they're about to take out X Drake. Here comes Apu. He's still back. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Now, something else that's also there is the subscribe button. Now is the time for you to click it, right? Turn it from red to gray or whatever shade it is. Turn on post notifications, drop a like as well if you're enjoying the video. That'd be greatly appreciated. But Oda hyped up CP0, and I think he took some of the hype away, because now the short one, who I think has a lot of hype, he's fighting X Drake, who has been fighting Apu. I'm not gonna say he's spent because he's a Zoan, but then you have Apu fighting the other long arm guy, right? Which is something I never thought I would have those interactions, right? The long arm from CP0 fighting Apu was a long arm as well. Maybe a long lost brother or cousin, some kind of relation, because it can't be that many long arms, right? Not that many shirts. Anyway, a lot of the chapter was Zoro versus King. So we can focus on this, right? But I think this is mostly not subverting expectations, but Oda setting the stage. We're not sure what's going on with Luffy. Sanji seems to be winning. Now Zoro seems to be losing. It's a contrast. The tide is going to shift for Sanji. Then it's going to shift for Zoro. So in that perspective, it seems like Sanji is good. Like he's going to dominate. Here, it seems like Zoro is going to lose. And how I was reading the chapter initially, it seems like Zoro said, I don't think I can win. That's all I saw. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? But it was just like, until I know what he is. Now, the beautiful thing about King is that he has the requisite defense and offense to handle someone like Zoro, a master swordsman like Zoro. So even the Dragon Twister, who would normally, what are you doing with that? He can block stuff like that. This is appropriate hype for a right hand. And again, that's why I talk about right hands and commanders. It's a difference, right? It's a difference in regards to how Oda portrays these characters. And for King, I think he's doing a masterful job, because a lot of people, including myself, it was like, King so far has been all right. But you knew he was hiding something. And for him, offensively and defensively, and of course stamina wise, because he's a Zoan, he seems to be complete. So we'll get more in depth with this Zoro and King fight in the breakdown on Sunday, because it's a lot we can get into. However, it's going to be a tough fight for Zoro. Somebody said that Zoro's been praying for fodder the entire story, but King is a different animal, a different beast altogether. Obviously, my money's still on Zoro because it's Zoro, and Enma's reacting now. Enma. That's always a topic of conversation, because there are people that feel like Odin still resides within the blade, like his soul is still there pushing Zoro like a father-son Kamehameha. But then there's people that's saying, well, Enma is just a regular sword. Zoro is the one who makes it special, etc. Right? Like it's always three sides to a story. I think in this case, it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think Odin resides within the sword, and I don't think Zoro makes the sword special. I think it's in the middle. I think the sword is special, but I don't think it's Odin's haki. I think it's literally a special magical sword that brings out the most out of the user, but the user has to be strong enough to use it. Not anyone can just use Enma. So just wielding it is impressive in its own right, and now it's reacting to Hiyori. Now I'm not gonna lie to you, going from the beginning of the chapter to a lot of the activities with CP0 and X Drake and Apu to going to King versus Zoro. Now we end with Orochi and Hiyori. It was kind of anticlimactic. I wasn't feeling the end. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It's important because Enma is reacting to Hiyori, and someone pointed out, you know, I gotta go and verify, but they pointed out that where they are is where the scabbards were healed, and that if the scabbards had looked in the next room, they probably would have seen Komurasaki. Now here's my thing. Knowing Oda, I can't help but feel like this is not Hiyori. It might be me reading too much into it. Maybe because I want Toki to be back, because I want the scar to be of some significance, but we'll see. We shall see. Orochi's not gonna die. Whomever this is, if it's Komurasaki or Toki, Orochi's not going to die. Now for Toki, I don't think Orochi should die. I think it highlights or continues the cycle of hatred within Wano. But right now, man, an okay chapter, a pretty good chapter. I think at the end of it, it shows Orochi still just, you know, a nasty old man that he seems like he had real feelings for Komurasaki, you know, which is weird because you basically executed her father, but I don't think he knows that. Right? Doesn't know that. I gotta say, my favorite part of the chapter is King turning his face into a slingshot and sending a beam that Zoro can't block. That was incredible. And so Oda, I don't know what to say. But yeah, guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about the chapter? I thought it was pretty good. Some things that were questionable, we'll talk about that in the breakdown. There's some other things going on I wish I had read on. Hint, hint. We'll talk about that. Don't worry. But guys, give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Again, guys, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.